Hello, I'm Brian Lawrence, head of sales here at Clazar, the leading provider of cloud marketplaces services, helping 250 plus customers get listed, transact, and co-sell on the cloud marketplaces, helping companies like Vectra. And I've got my good friend and customer, Eric Renner from Vectra with us. Eric, welcome. Thanks so much for taking some time with me.
Hi, Brian. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's always so good to talk with you.
You as well. So, share with our audience, if you would, a little bit about yourself and about Vectra.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm Eric Renner, VP of Cloud Alliances at Vectra AI. I've been in security for 20 years now, focused on strategic alliances and managing cloud alliances for the past 6 years at three companies. I've been with Vectra AI for a year and a half now. So then about Vectra AI, we were founded in 2011, and we're the cybersecurity AI company that protects modern networks from modern attacks. When modern cyber attackers bypass existing controls, and they will, and they evade detection and gain access to customers' data center, campus, remote work, identity, cloud, and IoT and OT environments, the Vectra AI platform sees their every move, connects the dots in real time, and stops them from becoming breaches. We've got 35 patents in AI security and the most vendor references in MITRE Defend. And organizations worldwide rely on Vectra AI to see and stop attacks their other tools can't. With respect to our cloud marketplaces journey, we've actually been at it for a few years, and it's definitely an evolution. We're transacting on all three major cloud marketplaces. We're working to continue to expand our leverage and use of the cloud marketplaces to bring value to our customers, to our channel partners, and of course, for our own business. In terms of priority, I'd say that we're driving much more business via AWS Marketplace, which we grew 2.5x year over year in the past year. We're also increasing quite a bit on Azure Marketplace, which we grew 6x year over year in the past year.
Wow.
Although the volume, yeah, I mean, great growth, but the volume's a smaller number. And
Sure.
then we're using Google Cloud Marketplace as well to serve customers that request and need to purchase there also.
So it's pretty obvious that both you and Vector know a whole lot about security and also around cloud marketplace. So tell us, why did you choose to sell via the cloud marketplaces, especially AWS?
Yeah, well, we're certainly continuing to see the increasing momentum in customers consolidating their purchasing through cloud marketplaces. And we're seeing more customers signing up to annual spending commitments like PPA with AWS. So purchasing Vectra AI platform solutions through the marketplace helps customers draw down against their committed spend. And it also represents an opportunity for us to tap into that committed spend as a budget mechanism to fund the purchase of our solutions through the cloud marketplace. Additionally, and Vectra is a 100% channel company, so we always sell through our channel partners. And AWS leads the way with CPPO supported worldwide. And in regions where we're working with distribution partners, we can also leverage the AWS Marketplace DSOR program to keep our distribution strategy and our channel strategy fully engaged. Finally, with AWS Marketplace being such a core component of the AWS go-to-market strategy, our increasing emphasis on this as a selling mechanism also dovetails with our go-to-market and co-sell strategy and execution with AWS.
We've seen so much growth on marketplaces, but I think especially in the last year or so, extra emphasis around the channel marketplace, the channels driving things through the marketplace, and you're so well positioned for that. But can you tell us, Eric, a little bit about that process of getting set up and running cloud sales operations? There was a time before Clazar, so can you tell us a little of what that looked like?
Yeah, and some of this predates me too, but I do have some of that history, Brian. Some of our initial listings were developed in-house, which, as you know, requires a substantial engineering effort. And then after that, we worked with a Clazar competitor to build more listings and transactability. But I'd say our use of the cloud marketplaces at that early stage was much more tactical and reactive to customer requirements to transact that way. That grew a bit organically. And then I joined along with other colleagues as part of our deliberate effort to focus and grow this business really substantially.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. So you moved away from an established competitor to move over to Clazar. Can you share some of the key factors that led to that switch and how that port process worked with our team as well as your internal team?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Well, I do have to say that the functionality and support we received was totally fine. we were pleased. But the area that became a critical business issue was the pricing model, which shifted to a percentage of aggregate marketplace volume. So as we grew our marketplace business, we correspondingly paid more. And as we were, poised to significantly increase the cloud marketplace business, this became a real concern for us. That's when our discussion, which you and I have been kind of stalking each other,
Yep.
became something to really pursue in earnest. And I and the whole team here were quickly very impressed by Clazar's functionality and feature set, and also by the team and your approach, which was very engaged, very willing to understand our unique needs, and to make us feel very confident about your ability to continue to deliver the expanding range of functionality that we'll need as we continue to grow our cloud marketplace business. We've also been really diligent about developing strategic partnerships with the hyperscalers, and we need our cloud marketplaces partner to also have strategic relationships in place that afford you with access to APIs, key functionality, and the opportunity to innovate. And that has been the case. In terms of that initial port process, that's quite a story. We were working on a tightly compressed timeline, and we were able to achieve a full port of our listings and our transaction history and records over the course of a weekend. In actuality, I'd say it was almost completed in a matter of hours on that Friday more than a year ago. And then it was fully completed over the weekend. And we hit the ground running on Monday morning. It was completely thorough, really impressive, and it certainly exceeded our expectations.
I certainly remember that Monday after everything had been ported, and there was a ton that you and your team did to be great partners, and so really appreciated that. One of the things, Eric, talking to other partnership leaders, that one of the challenges that always gets articulated is driving the adoption of the cloud sales motion. And personally at Vectra, I know that you've done a lot to really help with that motion. As you said, everything at Vectra AI goes through channel partners. How has Clazar's Salesforce integration helped you drive that adoption and allowed you to scale that co-sell motion, particularly with AWS?
Yeah, Brian. Well, this has been transformational and really key for us. Previously, we had to manage all of our ACE registrations manually, and that can take 10 to 15 minutes per opportunity. So we focused on the necessary opportunities only, which meant that we were, by definition, severely limiting our AWS co-sell engagement. It wasn't something we were able to scale effectively. So this past year, I worked with our BizOps team, with Clazar, and with AWS, and we implemented Clazar's integration of our Salesforce with ACE. And now we're systematically registering nearly all of our SaaS deals at the qualified sales stage with ACE. There are some exceptions. So that means we've built in filters into Salesforce that result in the right set registering through ACE. And that's sharply increased our volume of ACE registrations, co-sell engagements with our AWS sales counterparts, and launched wins.
Yeah, Eric, you touched on it. That ACE integration is so crucial. What are some of the specific operational challenges that Clazar helped you solve that allowed you to scale that co-sell motion the way you just described?
Yeah, well, Brian, to dig into it a little bit, it did take some work together to tune this. The field mapping can be complex, and so with our BizOps team and with Clazar, we've worked to tune and refine this. We also made some changes on our side. For example, changing the labeling of our Salesforce sales stages earlier this year. And that kind of threw a wrench into some of the field mapping we'd set up, and then it required some retuning. But each time, the Clazar team has been really responsive and helped guide us on the process and best practices, and that's been super helpful. In fact, I'd even call out the Clazar actually led some of the work that needed to be done to get us into the correct state.
Mm.
So now we're, scaling our co-sell registration in the thousands, and this is translating into vastly accelerated co-sell engagement with AWS. And that's something that our sellers are increasingly leveraging based on the incredible customer reach, relationships, and trusted advisor status that AWS has earned, in which they're willing and able to leverage to help accelerate our wins that bring value and improve security outcomes for our shared customers.
One of the things I've noticed, Eric, is that the customers that have the most success with the Quasar are the ones that put the most in and partner the way you truly have. So incredibly grateful for that. And then I know as you're starting to scale, and as you mentioned, thousands of co-sell opportunities, some of the automation features that Clazar has built to help companies like yours really come into play. So things like the auto create, private offer, data enrichment. Can you share a little of how you've leveraged those and how those have helped you and your team?
Yeah, that's been another key mechanism to help us scale. We're leveraging Auto Create to systematically register each opportunity at the right point and auto update so that as our opportunities progress through the sales stages, this automatically updates an ACE. And that keeps everyone informed and aligned on the important details for each opportunity. I mean, that's a huge productivity gain and a lever for us as we up the volume of our co-selling.
Yeah. And I think because of that, the success you've had, and Eric, I'm just thinking back to, more than a year ago when you and I were first talking. And, one of the things I'm a big believer in is I want to make sure that Clazar customers, that once they've been with us for 6 months, they have some milestones, they have some metrics that they can point to internally to share with their CEO, share with their exec leadership, share with the board. If you had to pick a couple of top milestones that demonstrate the success of your partnership with Clazar, what would those be?
Well, first is our cloud marketplace volume, right? I
Mhm.
mean, that's
Yep.
that's really the bottom line. And this is growing rapidly, and Clazar helps us scale. We'll double our cloud marketplace volume this year, and we could certainly overachieve that as well. Second is our co-sell engagements, which are driven by our opportunity registration, leveraging auto create and auto update functions in Clazar. This is an increasing area of focus with our team. And, we're leaning into our partnerships even further and accelerating our co-selling and co-marketing with our strategic partnerships. So this is key. Third is optimizing our listings. We've begun the process this year. We have some more work to do for sure, but our initial work has been very successful, and that's produced a model that we can follow and repeat. So we're definitely on the right track.
Eric, you've been just, I mean, you have so much experience here. You have such a track record of success. You've been such a joy to partner with as a customer. And you've also been so generous about sharing your knowledge, with me, with the Clazar team, with others. What advice would you have for companies that are looking at the cloud marketplace and tips that you would have on the channel partnerships and just that overall cloud marketplace strategy?
Well, first, that's super kind of you, Brian, and I definitely feel the same way. So thank you. What I would say about this is, this is an area that you can't afford to ignore or neglect. Customers and partners are accelerating their adoption of the cloud and they're purchasing through cloud marketplaces. Looking at the data in their recent special report published in August 2024, Canalys forecasts cloud marketplace sales to exceed $45 billion this year and reach $85 billion by 2028. We've seen additional research that projects even higher.
Yep.
Across the three major hyperscalers, there's a combined committed customer spend of $360 billion. And that's growing steadily, right? I mean, it's fueled by compute intensive AI workloads, accelerating cloud migration and digitalization, and software migration to cloud. So that growing level of customer demand and requirement is compelling. From the ISV standpoint, you don't have to try to solve it all on your own. You can work with a highly experienced partner like Clazar that also has deep and strategic partnerships with each of the hyperscalers, that delivers all of the functionality and keeps innovating, keeps expanding their feature set, and also listens closely to customers like us in order to deliver what we need to run and grow our business. Every time I need Clazar, they're there for me. And day to day, and especially when it gets urgent at the end of the quarter, they're more than willing and able to get on calls, resolve issues, and put me and my colleagues in position to keep winning more business. I truly, I couldn't be happier, and I'm excited about what's ahead. So, Brian, sincerely, thank you to you and all the Clazar team.
Well, Eric, thank you so much. Like I said, you've been a joy to work with, and I know that you put up some amazing numbers last year, and you're going to put up even bigger and better ones, and can't wait to see the growth. So thank you so much for joining me and for taking the time.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.